Quote Retreat by Sandor. One quote, one reflection, one thought that could bring a moment of light and energy to your day. Join me as we take a look at today's quote. The quote is by Chuck Palahniuk, born 1962. It reads, "All the effort in the world won't matter if you're not inspired." Let's take a moment together to explore the messages within this quote. Hard work and hustle culture dominate the conversation about success. But what if the secret ingredient isn't effort at all? Chuck Palahniuk's insight that all the effort in the world won't matter if you're not inspired challenges everything we think we know about achievement.
That's such a counterintuitive perspective, especially coming from someone who worked as a diesel mechanic while secretly writing what would become Fight Club.
You know what's fascinating about Palahniuk's journey? He didn't just wake up one day and decide to become a writer. He spent years working at Freightliner, putting in those long hours with engines and parts, while nurturing this completely different passion.
Well, that really adds weight to his words, doesn't it? Here's someone who literally lived both sides, the pure effort of mechanical work and the inspired creativity of writing.
And what's really interesting is how this theme shows up in Fight Club. I mean, the protagonist is essentially sleepwalking through life, doing everything right, but feeling completely disconnected. It's like Palahniuk was writing about the epidemic of uninspired effort we're seeing today.
That makes me think about all these burnout statistics we're seeing. Like, didn't a recent Gallup poll show that only about 32% of workers feel engaged in their jobs?
Exactly right. And that's where this quote becomes so relevant to our current moment. We're in this culture that glorifies hustle and grind, but Palahniuk is suggesting that all that effort might be meaningless without a crucial spark of inspiration.
So how do you think people can recognize the difference between just putting in effort and being truly inspired?
Well, from what I've studied about Palahniuk's process, it's about how you relate to challenges. When he was writing Fight Club, he actually got excited about solving the technical problems of the narrative structure. That's so different from just pushing through obstacles because you have to.
Oh, that's such an interesting way to look at it. Like the difference between seeing problems as burdens versus seeing them as interesting puzzles to solve.
You know what else is fascinating? Palahniuk kept working at Freightliner even after Fight Club was published. It shows his really practical understanding that inspiration and reality need to coexist.
That's actually quite refreshing compared to all these quit your job and follow your dreams stories we usually hear.
And here's something that often gets overlooked. Palahniuk was actively participating in writing workshops while working his day job. He wasn't just waiting for inspiration to strike, he was creating conditions where it could find him.
That really transforms the meaning of his quote, doesn't it? It's not about passively waiting for some magical moment of inspiration.
Exactly. And you know what's really striking about his journey? Fight Club wasn't even his first attempt at writing. He had several failed manuscripts before that, but he kept at it because the inspiration was genuine, even when the results weren't immediate.
Well, that certainly puts a different spin on the whole overnight success narrative we often hear about.
And what's particularly relevant for our current moment is how this applies beyond creative work. Think about the most innovative companies right now. They're not just putting in effort, they're inspired by a vision of what could be possible.
Like how SpaceX isn't just building rockets, they're inspired by the vision of making humanity multiplanetary. The effort follows the inspiration.
Exactly. And that's where I think this quote becomes truly universal. Whether you're a teacher inspired by helping students learn, or a scientist inspired by solving problems, or an entrepreneur inspired by creating something new, it's that core connection that gives meaning to the effort.
So it sounds like the real message here is about finding that sweet spot where inspiration and effort align.
And maybe that's the most valuable takeaway from Palahniuk's experience. That inspiration isn't just some luxury for artists and creators. It's a fundamental ingredient for meaningful work and meaningful life.
That's really powerful. Like a permission slip to stop forcing ourselves down paths that don't truly inspire us.
Well, looking at where we are now, with rising burnout rates and declining engagement, maybe this is exactly the message we need to hear. It's not about working less, it's about making sure our work matters to us on a deeper level.
You know, that might be the real revolution Palahniuk was pointing to all along. Not just in Fight Club, but in his own life story.
And perhaps that's the challenge he's really presenting us with. Not just to work hard, but to have the courage to recognize and pursue what truly inspires us, even when that path looks different from what we expected. With that, we conclude this exciting episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Your support truly helps this channel grow. See you again tomorrow. Yours, Sandor.